Ты давай там украинских баб насилуй, да, мне ничего не говори, понятно? Я сегодня убить
Насиловать и тебе ничего не говорить?
Да, чтобы я ничего не знала. А что?
Можно, да?
Да, разрешаю. Только предохраняйся.
Хорошо.
So that is an excerpt from a call that was allegedly intercepted between a Russian soldier in Ukraine and his wife in Crimea. Secret Service of Ukraine says it intercepted the call. They're believed to be in their 20s, by the way, if it wasn't clear from their voice. It was coming out of the Kherson region of Ukraine. And in it, if you don't speak Russian, it was them joking about whether he would be allowed or in fact encouraged to rape Ukrainian women. With the joke being that it would be okay. She doesn't want to hear the details so long as he uses contraception. Now, we are of course assuming, but we will give you the caveat that that is what the Secret Service of Ukraine is saying, and the audio has now been relayed thanks to Radio Free Europe. So all the concerns that we've had from the very beginning of this conflict about the possibility of intentional or accidental elevation of propaganda on either side. All that said, Francesca, and we'll get into more on this, that's a hell of a conversation, whether they were technically joking or not.
I am so disgusted. I'm glad I skipped breakfast because that was the most heinous and disturbing audio. Look, we've seen a lot of images coming out of this war. We've seen a lot of homes. We've seen a lot of death. We've destroyed. We've seen a lot of death. We've seen mothers in the middle of labor being carried out, of burning buildings. But the cavalier nature of two Russians talking about rape and is just beyond the pale. Like, this is a wife who's laughing about it. Clearly she's uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable to the point where she's gonna stop it or say, that's actually wrong. Maybe you shouldn't rape, honey. Oh, no, that's fine. Of course, that comes with the territory when it comes to a war that is violating human rights since the beginning. And yeah, these kinds of wars, and especially the way Russia does them, really makes you realize, like, yeah, there's a difference between military targets and just raping civilians. That's a pretty big difference in terms of the rules of engagement. So I don't know, I'm like gonna take a while to get over that. It's really disturbing, and it shows you the way that this war has been normalized and these violations have been normalized by Russian society.
Yeah, just war crimes being committed literally every day in full public sight, being fully documented, and still the world seemingly incapable of stopping it from happening. So we're gonna give you details in just a sec about these individuals. I do want to play a little bit more audio. This is a journalist contacting both sides of this couple to try to get some information.
Вы в Херсонской области еще сейчас, со 108-м полком?
Нет, я в Севастополе.
А когда вы из Херсонской области вышли?
А кто это? Могу я поинтересоваться?
Я журналист. На днях был опубликован ваш телефонный разговор с женой, где она вам сказала, ты украинских баб там насилуй, да. Это вы на той записи?
Нет.
То есть я по поводу романа вашего мужа звоню. Вы не подскажете, он уже из Херсонской области вернулся в Севастополь или он там еще?
Да, он в госпитале уже.
В госпитале? Его ранили, что ли?
Ну да, ранен.
В Херсоне?
Я не знаю, где он был ранен. Я знаю, что он сейчас в госпитале находится.
So if you're listening on the pod, that was initially him speaking with the soldier, who now says he is no longer in Kherson, he's been injured, then talking with the wife. And by the way, the soldier insists that he didn't say those things. Now the voices do sound very similar. That's not, proof positive necessarily. Radio Free Europe says they identify the participants by linking social media accounts to telephone numbers that have been provided. Again, it's up to you whether you consider that to be evidence enough. And look, I don't discount the possibility that I don't know what happens inside of other relationships. For all I know, the soldier despises every bit of this and has no idea why he's there. And this is a wife who is terrified that her husband will die for a cause maybe she doesn't agree with, that is trying through incredibly twisted, dark humor to work through their own issues with it. I don't know. That's for them to figure out or to make the case. What I do know is that whether they were serious or not, whether he participated in any of this, and by the way, that soldier has not been accused of rape. No charges have been filed against the couple. In terms of consequences, aside from social scorn, there aren't any yet. That said, as we'll get into, Francesca, rape is happening very commonly to a lot of women in Ukraine, which makes it, even as a joke, a difficult, touchy place, I think, for a non-professional to engage in. You're a professional comedian, so I think you can understand.
I'm not gonna make a joke out of this. Don't look at me now.
No, not you.
But
I'm saying
but
you should.
Here's what I will say about that phone call. It felt, and I don't speak Russian, but it felt incredibly real. Meaning, and it starts off with her basically saying, so what, you get sent to Ukraine to rape? Kind of like in this incredulous, like, I thought you were there to insert propaganda, talking point, liberate the Ukrainian people, help Russia, whatever it is. Like, but now you're going to rape? And then he basically matter of fact says, yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, is that okay? And she's like, well, yeah, if you use protection, laughing the whole way. Once again, it's so uncomfortable. So like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's all a false flag, but that sounded real as hell.
It did feel that way. Again, we try, probably needlessly, both because many times we have good reason to believe that something is true. Also, our detractors would never acknowledge that we provided caveats. So for those reasons, the caveats are probably unnecessary. But from the very beginning, we've been trying to be very responsible with providing that. In war, hell, outside of war, in politics, people lie. Even people we agree with. There is no direct evidence that this is an example of that, but we always want to provide those caveats.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.